Yes, please.
Okay. Hi, Nancy. All right, so this is I now call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Wellfleet Selectboard, a virtual public hearing on Tuesday, October 28th, 2025 at time is now 6:01 p.m. And we do have a quorum, and I believe I need to formally open the public hearing. So I now do so. And the purpose of the public hearing is the local property tax levy, the classification hearing. And who should lead this off? Should Nancy or you, Tom?
Well, just as a primer, I know you received the stuff late today, and on that, we're in a similar situation we've been in for the past several years relative to our residential commercial property split. It's about 96% residential, about 4% commercial, industrial, and personal property. Generally speaking, that's not a formula for differentiating the tax rate. You put a lot of burden on a little bit of the population. But that's something that the board needs to determine for themselves. And then from that, you would also be asked to look at the residential exemption, residential tax exemption, the RTE. And with that, I would turn it over to Nancy if she's got anything to add.
Okay, Nancy? I think you need to unmute.
She's not muted.
I can't hear her.
Nancy, come up to my office. Please.
Please.
Sorry. Had a small brain freeze there.
Okay. We're on it.
I just muted her mic just in case it comes back on and there's some background noise.
A good idea.
Yeah, but we couldn't hear you. Just pull a chair up and we can do it this way. There you go. That works out. Come a little closer because you're in the fog. There you go.
Okay, so the select board needs to decide how they're going to allocate the tax burden amongst the various classes of property. The first order of business is deciding if you would like to split the rate between commercial and industrial. Commercial and residential, to shift some of the burden onto the commercial class and off the residential class. And as Tom said, we're really at only 4% commercial, industrial, and personal property. It really doesn't make any sense to do that.
And through the chair, in the past, we have not done so, correct?
No.
Oh, thank you.
I can think of no reason to change that unless somebody can come up with one.
There's really no, if you're not at the 15 to 20% at a minimum, differentiation, it generally, I won't, boards do different things, but it generally doesn't make a lot of sense to differentiate if it's less than that.
Through the chair or to the chair, if there's no comment from the public, then perhaps there's a motion.
All right, let me check
Yeah.
with the participants here. Do we have any members of the public that have any comment to make on this particular issue, the splitting of the tax rate between residential and commercial? Bearing in mind that this has never happened before, and
I don't have any hands raised.
No, I don't see any either. I'm just giving them a chance in case anybody's having some technical issues or something,
Right.
but
Actually, I will, through the chair, I will need some help on the motion since it's in the affirmative. If Nancy has any suggested language.
Hold on.
I have
Yeah.
language that was
Okay.
sent through.
All right, then Josh, I yield,
Gotcha.
because I don't have that document open right now.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that the town retain a unified tax rate for all classes of property within the town of Wellfleet. And to accomplish this, the town will make the residential factor the numeral 1.
Second,
roll call vote.
Barbara, I.
Brian, I.
Josh, aye.
And John, I. It passes 4-0 with one, I don't know what that would be.
Absent.
One absence. Very good. All right, then we'll move on to the residential exemption. Nancy?
Okay, there is a residential exemption available to people that are domiciled in Wellfleet. The select board voted it in first in fiscal 19. I believe we started off with 20%. So you could exempt up to 35% of the average value of the residential class. So maybe I can go through a few of my papers here before we get into the discussion.
That would be-
You've got your classification memo, and then the second page is the effect of the various percentages on what the tax exemption would be and what effect that would have on the value. And then we have our so-called LA4 assessment and classification report, which sets out all the various state classes of property, does a parcel count, and sets out the value of those various properties. And then the next document is an LA4 comparison report, which compares this year's LA4 to last year's LA4. And then the final piece of paper there on the comparison report is breaking out the total number of parcels in each of the 5 classes of property, and the change in value from last year and the change in percentage from last year. So the average value of the residential class this year is $974,913. So you can vote to exempt up to 35% of that value. And so then that gets, on a tax bill, you'll see a land assessment, a building assessment, and then a minus whatever the value of that exemption is. So for fiscal 25, you voted 32.5%.
I had a question. It looks like some of the material I was looking at online, I'm not seeing here. It indicated that when a property value exceeded $1 million, that the non-exempted tax was actually lower than the exempted tax.
Yeah, that's incorrect.
I did a couple of reports at Tom's request this morning from the DOR data bank, which turned out to be at least 50% wildly inaccurate. But if you look, and that's might have been what you saw, John, the papers on the DLS website, the numbers are wrong, but it is instructive to see what the exempt of the what effect the exemption has on various percentages and various values. And it's particularly, I think, instructive in showing you where the break-even point is, where even though you get the exemption, you're still actually paying more in property taxes.
The break-even point's in excess of $3 million.
I see.
It's-
Okay, the material I do have in front of me. So for instance, that's based on a home value of $974,913. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, so if you look at the column that says owner occupied, they're using a 95 percentage of the homes as being owner occupied, and that's skewing the results. So, you know, where we have, I forget what Nancy said, what was it, 67% of houses that are seasonal, that should only be 33% as being owner occupied. And so that it's a very different result if you run it with the actual percentage of owner occupied that we see rather than the 95%.
When I was doing that report, I was presuming that it was asking me, what is the percentage of people that are receiving the exemption? What percentage of them live in single family homes? But that is just completely inaccurate. Just ignore that front page. And like I said, just for educational purposes, on the second half of the report, it just shows you the various effects that various percentages have.
Ryan and I were looking at two different things.
Just as a theoretical thing.
Yeah, I think Ryan and I were looking at two different things. I'm looking at the heading is effective various percentages on the residential tax exemption using FY 2025 tax rate.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's mine.
Okay, so the home value that was picked for this comparison, am I correct in saying that's 974?
913.
That is the average value of the residential class. And that is the figure you're going to use to decide what percentage you want this exemption to be.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
It adds together single families, condos, mixed use, vacant land, apartments, two families.
Yeah.
You get the average, and then you vote to exempt up to 35% of that 974, 913.
Okay, so what I don't follow, I guess, is where it says tax dollars exempted. Is that the actual tax that would be paid with the exemption?
That's the tax dollars that are forgiven.
Oh, okay.
So the first column, I give you what the value is, and the second column translates that value into actual tax dollars.
Okay.
Because for most people saying, oh, you know, 316, 846, that doesn't mean anything to them, but $2,252.78 does make sense.
And then
Does mean something to them.
Then the last column is the amount that the town must recover from other sources.
No, the town gets that from the entire residential class. So effectively, this exemption is revenue neutral. It only affects the residential class. So even though domiciled people are going to be getting some money off their taxes, their actual tax rate per thousand is going to go up because we have to make up that exempted value.
Which would be paid by the non-resident taxpayers.
For all residential taxpayers. They just pay more because they're not getting any exemption.
I see. Okay. So we have two people with hands up. Didn't check the order. Josh, then Barbara, then Ryan. Josh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is a bit more of a technical question, and I know I've spoken to Mr. Garino about this, but last year when the board set 32.5%, there was an issue with DOR not being able to accommodate a half percentage. And I understand that there was a patch issued into their DOR software to accommodate that half percentage. I just wanted to confirm that DOR would be comfortable this year also accepting a half percentage point, and we wouldn't have the issue we had last year, which delayed the tax bills going out.
Yes, they fixed their program.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I believe since we accepted seasonal community designation, we are, under the statute, allowed to increase the RTE up to 50%. I am not in favor of that. I'm in favor of 35%. So I would just, if this is the right time to start discussing those, our opinions about it, I'll just leave that there and listen to everyone else. Thank you.
Ryan? And then after Ryan, I'm going to go to public. We have at least one person with their hand up.
So
John, if I may clarify on the 50%, I did speak with Ann Schiffenhaus, our housing coordinator today. And the state group, the committee, is still taking public comment through Friday. And then they will begin to solidify their rules and guidelines and all that. So it's my understanding that that 50% is not available to us tonight.
So through the chair, I mean, it's in this, I don't like to disagree with staff, but it's in the statute. It wouldn't need to be in a regulation. So again, I'm not in favor of it, but I do think as a seasonal community, under the statute itself, with or without any regulations, we are entitled to raise it to
Correct.
50%.
Okay.
So the way to think about the exempted value for those that are claiming the residential tax exemption is it effectively and for tax purposes lowers the value that you're being assessed on the home. And then so if you're in, a house valued, well, now I think the median, you said it was, well, you did average, which is
74.
974. It'd be best to do median in the future, but average is fine. So then you would subtract the exempted value. The exempted value is flat all the way through. So it doesn't vary based off of the property value. And then you would apply the tax rate against that, and the tax rate would be increased. But basically, if we do a 32% reduction or a residential tax exemption, it works out to be, I didn't do the math this time, but it comes out to be roughly on a median priced home, a reduction in the total amount that they're paying of around 28 to 29%.
Okay, Ms. Reverby. You'll have to unmute, I think.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I just have a brief statement. I'd also like to remind the board that Jim Campen, who used to be on our board, is an economist, and he did a number of tables. We sent them to you over the last week. So we've used Nancy's data to try to look at some of these figures and to give you some of the numbers that Ryan is discussing, but they are also available to you and we sent them to you. So for those of you who don't know me, who are out there, I'm Susan Reverby. I'm the vice president of the Wellfleet Seasonal Residents Association. So the WISRA, as our term now is, board of directors has done important calculations, as I've noted, on the implications of this REIT and sent this information to town officials and select board members based on the data that Nancy had. Our board has said that many seasonal residents are willing to pay their fair share, as we own, as far as I can figure out from Nancy's data, 62% of the homes and pay more than 65% of the taxes. We have no say, as you know, on how the municipal monies are spent. Unlike other seasonal resident organizations on the Outer Cape, however, we have worked really hard to be good partners in town and to avoid the sense of being seen as merely the town's ATM machine or selfish people who are just pricing people out of the town's housing market. We don't want the REIT to become a wedge issue between us and our neighbors. And several of us, as you know, have worked really hard on the housing issues to help alleviate these difficulties that are caused by the market. I'd like to remind people that most of us who bought houses who are seasonal residents bought them from full-time residents or their heirs who sold them to us. We want to remind the select board, therefore, of 3 points. One, We want to make sure Wellfleet doesn't become the Hamptons, and we value the mix of seasonal and full-time residents. We understand that tax policy must be part of preserving Wellfleet's character and population. 2, we appreciate that the REIT should help those burdened by taxes as assessed values rise. But alas, this isn't always the case because any full-time resident, no matter what their financial situation, can claim it. And as you've all noted, it's revenue neutral, which means people who don't take it and seasonal residents have to pay the differences. 3, we know that tax increases are coming down the line as the town works out its watershed, septic, sewer plans. In fairness, we think it's important to balance the interests of both year-round and seasonal residents. We believe that the REIT at 32.5 is a reasonable compromise that will prevent this tax policy from dividing this community, which we all love and support. And I want to finally say that if we start raising it, then it's probably not ever going to go down. It's just going to keep going up. And then what we said earlier, when we said it was just a few lobster dinners, that's how I used to measure it when we did the 20%. Then it becomes, as we said in our article, real money and costs the people who don't take it, who are residents, and those of us who are seasonal residents, a really considerable amount of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. At this point, I'd like to chime in just with my own thoughts on this, and these thoughts are not based on fiscal calculations. They're just, I guess, based on human calculations. We are, in my opinion, blessed in Wellfleet with a seasonal residents association, unlike some other towns I can think of, that has constructively and consistently constructively worked with the select board and town officials. And it just seems to me counterproductive over an average tax difference from what I'm reading of around $200 or so to generate any ill will just over expanding the tax exemption from 32.5% to 35%. I just don't think it's going to benefit the town, benefit local residents that much to do that at the expense of possibly harming our relationship with the seasonal residents. That's just my thought. I'm just throwing it out there. So, Barbara?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see your point and I understand it. I guess I would just offer the flip side, which is for what is really a relatively small amount to be able to extend the benefit of this RTE a little further for year-rounders who elect to take it, which is not all year-rounders, by the way. It seems like a really incremental burden to ask non-residents to pay for. So I guess it's just the flip side. You're saying it's a small amount of money, not worth having it be contentious. I'm saying it's a small amount of money, so I think it really is a reasonable additional amount to shift that burden from year-round residents to everyone else, which includes people who don't take the exemption and people who are not eligible for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Anyone else? I don't see any of our attendees so far, but I'd like to give it a minute or so, just in case anybody's trying to get in there.
And through the chair, I do hate to take a vote without Sheila being here. I was really hoping that she would be able to at least call in by now to participate in this. It's a significant vote, and I wonder if there's anything we can do to try to.
Yeah, I got a text from her at, I don't know, 15 minutes or so ago. I offered her to come here, as I told you earlier. I'll head home about 15 minutes, so she should be arriving shortly, I
There's an
guess.
attendee with her hand up named Audrey.
Yeah, I saw that.
John, just as, I don't know if this is a thing, we could always leave the RTE part of this hearing right now and go and do open space and small commercial if you want to wait till Sheila gets here.
All right, I would like to hear from the attendee, Aubrey Gould. You'll have, yeah, there you go.
Hi, my name is Audrey Gould, and I just emailed with somebody from the select board, but I am expressing concern. The link in the agenda for tonight's meeting does not work to get to this Zoom ID. I played around and went into the agenda for an upcoming meeting and was able to get to you guys that way. But I'm
should be
concerned. I
on
know there's a
there.
lot of interest among the whatever the non-resident taxpayers are now called, and I am concerned that they're not able to access this meeting.
It's the link on the website is live. Let me go fix everything else.
Yeah, the link I used, I use the website, I always do, so that we avoid, or if there is an issue that, you know, I know it or we know it. So I use the link, that was posted on the town's website, and that's how I entered this meeting.
The link that's in the agenda for tonight's meeting, because I've tried it on my phone, on my computer. I'm pretty familiar with attending town meetings and using Zoom. I was not able to get in using the link in tonight's agenda. I had to go to the November 14th meeting agenda in order to get into this meeting.
Yeah, I used the one from the posting.
Right, I should.
Okay, it's fixed.
I had no problem getting on here from the website.
Let me try it again.
Hang on one second. I'm just editing it now. In the agenda, the website should be fine, but the agenda, hang on.
I clicked on the calendar on the town website, and the agenda came up, and I clicked on the meeting, and I got in.
I don't know how to go through the calendar. I just went to the agenda for the public hearing on the town website, and the link continues to say invalid meeting ID. And that link was shared with me, you know, elsewhere too. And so I just wanted to express that I feel like there are interested parties that are probably not able to access this meeting. That's all I have to say. Thank you, guys.
I checked the town emails a couple of minutes ago and didn't see any other indication that people were having difficulty, and I have not received any texts from anybody.
Sheila's here. I just promoted her.
Oh, okay, great. I'd like to hear from Sheila.
Yay!
Sheila?
Sorry, I'm late.
Okay, regarding the residential tax exemption, either keeping it at 32.5% or going up to 35, what are your thoughts on that?
Since they've already figured out how to do 32.5%, I lean towards keeping it that. And if we're gonna raise it, I'd go to 33, but not 35 yet. Did you hear me?
Yes, yes. Barbara, would you mind summarizing your argument for her, and then I'll mention what I said.
Sure. I guess I'd start by saying I think the RTE is a good mechanism for helping year-round residents who take the exemption to make ends meet, and to allows the for a really equitable distribution of the tax burden that we share. I think allocating a larger share to part-time residents is an appropriate way of doing this, and the town has historically done so. I guess John suggested that he thought raising it from 32.5% to 35% really is and correct me if I'm sort of mischaracterizing what you said, John, a fairly small amount and with a small impact, and it is not worth kind of creating or exacerbating tension between year-round residents and part-time residents. I suggested the flip side, which is that it is a relatively small amount to add to the existing tax burden on part-time residents and folks who live here year-round but don't take the exemption. And sort of the flip side of what John is saying, it is a small amount and is, an appropriate policy decision that we can make with this incremental choice. Thank you.
I guess the gist of what I was saying is that we have unlike some other towns, we have a very constructive relationship with our seasonal residents association, and I wouldn't want to, I wouldn't want to see that change in any way. So.
Yeah, I mean, through the chair, I agree, and certainly I've had experience in another town where the relationship between the part-time residents and the year-round residents is can be quite toxic. I don't want to escalate it either. At the same time, we are responsible for setting this policy, and if we, as a group, think that an appropriate rate is just a bit higher than last year, I don't feel that that is in and of itself a way to I don't know, what's the right term, like a shot across the bow or throwing down a sword. I just see this as a very incremental change that will be of meaningful benefit to people who take the year-round the tax exemption. I also I'm not sure where this phrase or sentiment that the town treats part-time residents as an ATM. I'm not sure where that started, but I have to say I find that very non-constructive to be told that.
Ms. Reverby has her hand up again.
Hi, I just want to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to respond to a couple of things. One is the ATM comment. I've heard from people in town, both in town folks, residents, but also from non-residents as well. So it's out there as a kind of sentiment, and it speaks to what John's talking about. Second of all, I understand Barbara's argument that it's just an incremental argument, but this is a little bit like the frog question in hot water, which is if we keep putting it a little bit, and you go to 50, and as we've said in the things we've set out to you, when it's a few lobster dinners, it's one thing. When it becomes real money, it's another thing. So if you increase it this year, what stops you from next year saying, oh, it's only a couple $100 extra. So let's go to 37, and then the year after that, you go to 40. Meanwhile, once we figure out how much the sewer stuff is going to cost us, then we're really talking about a big tax increase that's going to matter. And then the third thing is, I agree with John. We have worked really hard to keep what I think of as some of the more troglodyte members of the community on both sides, both residents and non-residents, from really screaming their heads off. And those folks are out there just like they're in the resident community as well, as you know. And so one of the things we're trying to do is to balance the demands being made on us as the organization that represents the taxpayers and our sense of real commitment to making sure that there's enough money and that we help people who need the help to stay here. We're not opposed to that. Obviously, we want people who are the children of shellfish people to be able to buy a house and stay here. We totally get that. That's not what we're opposed to. But I just want to remind you, think about the frog. And that's what I'm thinking about. As I listen to you, I think about it just going up every year. Thanks.
Yeah. So through the chair, I mean, this is this year. We're making a decision for this year. And this is the last time I'll comment on it. I know that expression, that the town treats part-time residents as an ATM. I know it's out there. What I'm saying is I don't like it, and I think it's insulting, and I think it's completely a mischaracterization of the RTE and other aspects of the relationship between the town and part-time residents. Thank you.
All right, so if there are no other comments on the board, Sheila?
I was, if I could, I'm sorry I'm late, that I missed the discussion, but what was the sentiment of the rest of the board, such as Josh and Ryan?
Well, Josh?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I haven't shared my sentiment yet. I suppose now is a good time to speak. I've been on both sides of this. I've been pretty vocal in how I find the RTE to be tremendously divisive. I actually would be in favor of some pretty significant legislative reform to give this responsibility to the legislature to define and not put this down to the towns, because I find that every year we need to have an us versus them conversation, which I don't find to be terribly productive. You know, I hear what the chair says, that it's a couple $100. I think what's important to understand, however, is that for those that own a home less than the average assessed value, it has some real impact. So by moving from 32.5 to 35, if you, let's say you have a home that's assessed at roughly $500,000 and not $1 million, I'm rounding up, but just, you're going to have a 5% increase in savings as opposed to 2.5%. And so it's a progressive savings that supports those that don't have as much equity to pull from if they had to, right? Home ownership is a source of emergency funds if you want to take out a HELOC, et cetera. And so there are some real benefits to supporting those that don't have a tremendous amount of value compared to others in the homes they own. I also understand where seasonal residents are coming from. I think that there's reason to hold at 32.5. I think that there is an equally strong argument to go to 35. I quite honestly resent the fact that this town has to have this conversation every year, being completely honest. I'm in support of either. If I'm, I think it's reasonable to have a 35% RTE. I think it's reasonable to have a 32.5% RTE. I know that maybe wasn't the declarative statement that Member Lyons was looking for, but that's how I feel about it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Ryan?
Yeah, I hadn't really shared mine either. I'm actually kind of similar to Josh. I think when you increase it, it's best to do it in progressively small steps, so it's not a large step all at once. But at the same time, a couple of times when we increased it substantially, one of the reasons we were doing it was to offset basically a large override. And that's a strategy we might want to discuss. I know not everybody's in favor of that strategy. In general, I mean, we basically had proposed I think we did it twice actually, but it might only have been once, where we had a really substantial operating override. But we also included in the town meeting warrant an article that would advise the select board on whether or not to increase the residential tax exemption or not. I kind of do like the idea of asking the townsfolk as well, and not just leaving it up to us five in a Zoom. The town meeting is a good way of doing that. But those are kind of my thoughts. At the same time, yes, it can become a very divisive issue.
Thank you.
I have to say that, it's in our lap. We have to make a decision.
Yep.
Okay, so if I may, Mr. Chair, I'll give you how I feel about it after hearing everybody. I think that we can hold off this year. I mean, as I say, we could go to 33%, kind of round it off and make it easier for the state to calculate, but they have it down now. So it would be okay just to leave it. But if we're going to go up to 33, only because, number one, there may be the ability that people can go up to 50% soon. And I also feel that a lot of things are being, coming in with the tide all at once, and everyone's getting kind of slammed with it on every level. I'm not feeling, I'm not giving empathy to one more than the other, but we do have people that don't, just because you have a second home doesn't mean you have all that. And I have heard all the things that we're the lowest tax and you can take deductions. The thing is, it's about being part of the town and the feeling you have. And this will come soon enough. It will go up to 35 and maybe beyond. But let's have a really good, as Ryan said, there was a good justified reason then, and we will be having, some ticket items that might make it easier and also give people, the second homeowner, some chance to absorb all this and realize this will come and, kind of be prepared for that. But I'm inclined to keep it the same or go to 33 for this year. We can go, there's time to go higher. It's only for a year.
So, seeing no additional hands raised among the attendees or on the board, I guess this might be a good time first for a motion to close the public hearing, and then a motion on the issue.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
RTE.
Roll call vote.
RTE.
Ryan,
Barbara,
aye.
Barbara, I.
Sheila, aye.
Josh, aye.
and John, I.
So, yeah, so Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to increase the RTE to 35%.
Second.
Okay.
I didn't hear it.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Barbara, I.
Ryan, no.
Sheila, no.
Josh, no.
John, no.
Great.
Okay, so the measure fails by 4-1 vote.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I move that the select board set the residential tax exemption for the upcoming 2026 tax year for domiciled residents of the town of Wellfleet to 32.5%.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Ryan, aye.
Barbara,
Sheila.
I.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Barbara.
Barbara, I.
Sheila, aye.
Josh, aye.
And John, I.
Before, Mr. Chair, if I may, before we leave this meeting, just because it was a comment, if you could let me have 1 minute, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
So there's many ways to look at tax rates, and people need to look at, well, yes, we might have one of the lower rates per 1,000 in the state. We're actually right around the middle, right around the middle in terms of the average single family tax bill in the state. So even if you have a low rate per 1,000, if it's assessed against, properties that are, more valuable or, it's not necessarily the best comparison because, somebody could pay, twice the rate we have, which would be like, 14 and change for a house that's maybe, let's say 500,000, and pay the same price that just the same house here would be paying. And you kind of have to take it and look at taxes beyond just looking at the rate per 1,000, but look at them also as to the rate that individual homeowners are paying. Because that's ultimately, that's the money that's coming out of people's pocketbooks.
Tom, before I get to you, I just have a quick question for Rebecca. Looking at the attendee list, there's the first two, Aubrey and Susan, it says talking permitted after their names. The other four, it doesn't say that.
Right, so you have attendees, and if they raise their hand, you allow them to talk. If
I
they
see.
don't raise their hand, they just are here to listen and watch and be a part of the meeting.
I see. Okay. I just didn't understand how that worked. Tom?
Oh, I just wanted to dovetail on what Ryan was saying. We don't, looking at tax rates are one thing. You got to look at the tax burden. And I think that's what Ryan was talking about. It's the tax burden. The rates are right. You can get a $22 rate out in the western part of the state, but the house is only valued at 300,000. You know, so it's the tax burden as opposed to the rate.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, we've got a little less than 15 minutes before our next meeting. So if we want to have a chance to grab a coffee or something, we probably should have
Now
a
they
motion.
concluded.
Mr. Chair,
Chair, I move that we adjourn.
To go. We had the open space option.
Second,
Oh, wait.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah, it looks like there's a consultation going on there. We're missing something.
Open space.
Tom, you're
Because-
muted. Because you guys were talking, I didn't know
Oh,
if you guys.
Yeah, open space because we were waiting for Sheila and then we were going
Right.
to move on to open space and then she came. And so
Oh.
we didn't get to it.
point of order, Madam Lyons needs to withdraw her motion. There's a motion on the floor, so it needs to just be withdrawn.
What was,
So-
oh, about, excuse me, I withdraw my motion to adjourn.
And Member Carboni has to withdraw their second.
so done, whatever it is.
Sorry to be pedantic, but this is an important meeting.
No, you're right.
No,
You're right.
if anyone's gonna be pedantic, it's me. You can't take over my pedantic job.
Right. So what do we have?
We need to discuss the open space exemption.
Never done that before.
I'm of the opinion we should take no action on that. Is that
Right.
Yeah, that I think goes along with the taking no, not separating our tax rate, residential and commercial.
sorry, not to be even, well, because we took no action. Do we have to reopen the hearing so that if someone wants to make a comment on open space?
Yes,
Yeah, we do.
yes, we do, and to take our vote on it.
So I moved to
Or not to take
reopen
our vote.
the public hearing on the tax classification for open space.
Second,
I'll vote.
Ryan, I.
Barbara, I.
Sheila, aye.
Josh, aye.
All right. Okay, the public hearing is now open on open space, the open space classification.
The Board of Assessors recommends no action. We do not have any properties classified as open space right now. And those that would qualify are in other programs. They're either tax exempt like the Wellfleet Conservation Trust and Audubon, or for private homeowners, many of them put a conservation restriction on their property and get a tax break that way. So there's really no need for an open space option at this time.
Okay, does anyone on the board have any comment on that?
No.
Looking at the attendee list, I do not see any hands raised. In that case, I guess I'll take a motion. No, I guess
No.
we need to
So,
close the hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Oh, we still have one more option.
Oh, excuse me.
the
Sorry.
Small
I withdraw my
commercial.
motion.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay, so we are just simply not taking any action. We don't need to vote to.
You don't
not-
need to make a motion and you don't
Got
need
it.
to vote.
Thank you.
Just say,
Yep.
thank you. No,
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. I mean, you don't
Another,
have to say that.
another item apparently.
Just the small commercial exemption.
Well, I thought we voted not to take any action on that, or
You
Right.
did.
Okay.
Okay, so
We're done.
we're done?
Yep.
Thank you.
we need a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close the public hearing on open space.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Barbara, I.
Ryan, I.
Sheila, I.
Josh, I.
And oh, sorry, John.
Yeah, that's right.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
We'll call vote.
Barbara, I.
Ryan, I.
Sheila, I.
Josh, I.
All right. See you
Done.
shortly.